every possible, and they're almost live there. Just wait for 1 second until we get this one going as well. This will come up in any second now. Kom igen då. There we go, and we're live on Instagram as well.
You know, it looks so professional. It looks like we're...
There we go.
Yay.
Hey everyone. Hey everyone, it's Wednesday afternoon. It's 2:30 p.m. You're watching the world's fastest half an hour with Donny. Innovation Fika, Innovation Coffee Break. It's not only fast because I speak incredibly fast. It's fast because it passes fast, because we have so much fun. And when you have fun, time passes more quickly. So I hope you don't experience this as the world's slowest half an hour. We certainly don't. My name is Donny. Every Wednesday afternoon, I go live 2:30 p.m., as you might know, with my Innovation Fika. Fika in Swedish means kind of coffee break. So this is just a 30-minute coffee break chat where I get to spend a half an hour with good friends, fantastic people talking about really cool ideas and successes. And usually it's like a Kinder Egg of all of them together. Like today, when I have my dear friend Elena here. We met actually in this studio.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe 100 episodes ago. I don't know. This is episode 155 now. All content, by the way, recorded on YouTube. So find 155 episodes after today on YouTube. I think you were on episode 111.
I think it was 111. We talked about the number. It was a bit fun. I think it might have been 111. Check it out.
So episode 111. And this is cool. This is what I like doing. I mean, I speak to people like when they are about to start up. And now we're back on episode 155 with Elena. And now she has started up. Before I let Elena take the microphone, I will say to everybody out there, as usual. So as you come online, and just look at this, as ordered, straight from India. We actually had Yasher saying, hi from India. Exactly. Now you follow Yasher's example and you say hi from wherever you are and get the networking going, get to meet us. And the reason we do this live, don't forget, the reason we do this live is because we want comments, we want interactions, we want questions. So just hit it, join us. So with that, I will start with the same question that I always start with to my guests. So, Elena, who are you and what do you do?
I could have actually prepared, Tony. First of all, it's a pleasure to be back. I mean, we talked about it last time that I need to come back, so I'm happy we made it 1 year later. And it's cool to be here. It was a lot of fun last time. So who am I? I'm Elena. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alma.me. A company that empowers PhD students in their transition from academia into industry. And we do this in various ways by offering services to universities, but also kind of helping them directly finding jobs in companies. And we registered the company officially, launched it beginning of the year. So that's different. Last time we talked, it was still more in the beginning. Now we have an actual product and we're on the market, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's me. And I defended my PhD in November. You did? So yeah, I did.
Because you were still doing it.
I was still doing it, exactly. And now I defended.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So now you are a PhD. You have a PhD. You in what? Of what?
I do have a PhD in I got it at Karolinska Institutet, so it's technically medical sciences, but I was working mostly with T cells in the skin, different skin diseases like psoriasis. You might be familiar. It's quite a prevalent disease. 2% are affected, or vitiligo. You might know vitiligo when people have these white spots. Exactly. So I was skin immunology. That was my field.
And was it like a specific question you were trying to answer then, or was it? I mean, what were you trying to?
Interesting question. So what I was.
Sorry for going completely off topic here, but this is like super interesting.
Completely off topic. Let me explain a little bit in lay terms. So when you have psoriasis, one major cell type that plays a role in the disease are T cells, and the interesting thing is when you treat the disease, it comes back at the same spot. So when you withdraw the treatment, you have a period where your skin looks normal, healthy, healed, but then it appears at the same spot. So I wondered, it's interesting that it comes back. So something seems to survive the treatment, right? That can reinitiate the disease. So I was actually wondering, are there different types of T cells and some that are a bit more prone to survive these treatments? So I use single cell sequencing to kind of like identify different, or to actually see how heterogeneous the T cell pool really is. And I identified a small subset that actually has properties of a T cell that we would call more of a stem-like T cell, so lower differentiated.
Okay.
And it can actually differentiate in these pathogenic T cells that can actually cause the disease. So that was very interesting. It's not published yet. Still work in progress. I'm not working on it, but the story is pretty much done.
Episode 175. We'll have you back and we'll talk about that. I find that fascinating.
Okay. We can talk science. We can talk science.
Fascinating.
Okay.
And I mean, that's the reason why I love doing these shows as well. Is I get to meet so many cool people that teach me so many things, because I'm layman of everything. You know, I don't know. I don't really know anything, but I get to learn so many cool things from people like you. So that is awesome. But now we're going to talk about. Are you Dr. Hoffer now then?
Yes.
Ooh.
I am. It feels so weird to me.
Excuse me, Dr. Hoffer. I'm sorry for calling you by your first name. I didn't mean
No. But it feels so weird because, sometimes I get these letters in Germany because it's a thing.
Yeah,
Dr.
They write
Hoffer, and it's a bit funny. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it belongs to me.
You see, and the viewers are pitching in. A science episode would be nice. So we need you back on the show for that.
Yes.
But today, yes, of course, Yash, we will get back to that one. But today we're talking about Alma Me, which is the new company that Elena was running. So coming back to that, Dr. Hoffer, let's talk about the need that you're trying to solve. I mean, because it came more or less from your own sort of, wanting to, the need that you saw.
Yeah.
So, and what are you trying to help fix for people?
So I think what I observed while I was doing my PhD, I was running a series called PhD Careers Blend Academia, where we invited graduates, like PhD graduates, that actually made a transition into industry. And what was very interesting is, when you come from the lab and you have pipetted a lot and you were in a very narrow field and you had to have this like subject matter expertise, when you leave, you think often very narrow, what can I do with the skills, like the pipetting skills and like the technical skills and also the knowledge that I acquired.
No.
But what was really interesting is when you invite PhDs and see where they actually land after their PhD. We had people, they became marketing managers. They started as management consultants at McKinsey. They worked as editors, or as research equity analysts, which is also super exciting, evaluating companies. So I just realized you can do so many different things after a PhD, but I also realized that a lot of PhDs are completely unaware of what their options are. So I realized that's maybe something where I could, do something with, because I found it really fulfilling to help people kind of realize their potential and empower them. So, so basically, I think the need really is to help PhD students understand the options, but once they have understood the options, also help them, how do you prepare a non-academic CV or resume? It's something we never learn. It's not rocket science, honestly, but you need to know. And what I see is what a lot of people do, or a lot of PhDs do, they apply for half a year or maybe less, 4 months, and then they realize it's not working. I don't get any interviews, and then they start questioning, maybe something's wrong with my CV.
Yeah.
So you don't actually have to go through that process if you know how to do it properly from the beginning.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for an interview? Most people are clueless too. And how do you negotiate your salary? Most PhDs would go out and they would never even negotiate because they're not even aware of the option. So there is a huge need in just giving them the tools and the knowledge to make the transition smooth. So
I think, but that is fascinating, because there's a lot to be said about generic skill sets that you learn without, because when you're doing a PhD, you don't really understand how much else you're learning than your sort of specific field, and you think that you're only. I'll do an analogy. I was in the army a long time ago for many years, and I was in the army at the time when the Swedish army was like, oh, we're going to close this down. There's never going to be a need for an army again, ever again. There's no more wars in the world, and that kind of thing. And everybody was like transitioning into like civilian life. And that was a very similar situation, because there were so many people, officers like myself in the army, going, well, I can't do anything. I know the explosive thing and the gun thing and that kind of thing and the marching thing, but I don't know anything else. And I was like, dude, I mean, or men and female, there's so much else, like project management and leadership and that, just stacking up things like that. So I completely understand you.
Yeah.
I completely understand it.
Excellent example, because this is something I discussed with Angela, with my co-founder, because she has a mentor who was also in the army, and he said they have these transition programs, so it's very similar. So he actually told us to get inspired by their programs, because we never did so far, but now that you bring it up again, it's really something to look into. And it's interesting, because it's the same with PhDs. They think very much in, subject matter expertise, technical skills, but they never really think about all the transferable skills they have acquired, which make them employable across industries and across different roles. So this is also something, and you just need the awareness, right?
Yeah, I know.
So that's what they learn, basically. That's what I'm helping them.
There's so many things. I remember I started doing like public speaking after the army, and people said, how did you learn how to do this public speaking thing? I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's because I stood in front of 150 people speaking every day for 7 years, giving orders and talking to people and teaching people. I mean, that's kind of and I feel comfortable doing that because I've done it 1,000 times, right? Yeah. So, I completely hear you. But so what are some of what would you say, what are some of the generic skills you do learn as a PhD when you're doing this?
Some of the many. I don't know where to start. Okay, I pick my favorites. Yeah. I think communication is one of them. Yeah. Because you do communicate, across with different stakeholders. Yeah. It starts with maybe students who are not really at the level where you are. So you need to simplify the language, right? You need to work with analogies. You need to break it down. You need to keep it simple. Maybe sometimes actually you explain to your family, and then you have to even go a step further and simplify. Then you have clinicians. You need to use very different language. So you need to find a good balance between not too simplify so you don't make them feel stupid, but you still need to find a level that they can actually follow and understand. And then on the other hand, you speak to, you go to conferences and you present, and then you speak to the experts in the field. So you speak to a lot of different audiences, like in different situations, lab meetings, as I said, conferences. So I think communication is one of the skills. And I think often you forget that this is not a normal skill just to go out and speak in front of like 400 people, right? It's something you acquired and you became comfortable with.
There are 1,000 books written about that out there for people who have no idea how to start doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you just take it. But I think the thing is, like, at some point you just take it for granted and you think everybody has the same skill set. But it's also like, because of course, when you're in the environment of a PhD, everybody has in a way the same skill set. So you don't even understand what you actually can bring into the world once you leave academia. So communication, I definitely problem solving, like in a resourceful way. So this is something we do all the time, right?
That's kind of what you do. I mean,
exactly, that's what we do.
That's what you do.
Yeah, and that's why I think also when you think, I will never forget when we had the, you're quite well suited as a management consultant to start with, because all you do is like think out of the box and solve problems in a creative way, and sometimes in a very resourceful way. As a PhD, there's not always a lot of money available. So critical thinking, obviously, because you get to analyze, you get to read a lot, you need to question. This is something that is really fostered in a PhD. I think adaptability and flexibility, or tolerance for failure. This is one of my favorites when you build a business, because you're so used to knowing things will go wrong.
And when you make 100 experiments, I mean, that's what you do.
Exactly. And things will go wrong, and it's okay. And you're so used to it, and it's part of the process, right? So do you want me to name some more? Now my list, I have a very long list, but now I feel like
but the thing is that everything that you mentioned is something that when you have all of these courses on entrepreneurship, or all of these courses on when you meet first-time entrepreneurs or whatever, everything you mentioned is things that you have to mention, that we'll have to practice presenting in front of people. Yes. We have to, don't worry if it doesn't work the first time. I mean, it's like things that people have to really try and learn. And it's kind of a natural. I mean, I still joke about it and say that my 8 years in the army as an army engineer is still the most creatively demanding job I've ever had, because I was, sent out in the forest, a roll of duct tape and a knife, and said, we need a bridge here tomorrow. Fix it. Fix it. I was like, okay, anybody know how to do this? Kind of thing. And it was just like, the time limit is quite harsh, because tomorrow at 12 a.m. there's like a battalion of tanks that need a bridge. And it was like sort of, you just get things done, and you have to think on your feet. And it's not that's going, can't do it because I didn't have a PowerPoint presentation or whatever people blame. It's
yeah.
just so I completely, and because you were saying also usually also the limited resources thing. You learn how to work it. And make
absolutely,
it work.
Absolutely. And I mean, also thinking of time as a resource, right? It's just So that's pretty fascinating.
Fascinating. So how then do you help? We're talking about coming back to then how we sort of help. How do you help PhDs today? I mean, what do you say to them, and how do you sort of what do you do? How do you help them? How do we? If I'm a PhD and I don't know where to go, I don't even know where to start, and I'd love to understand this transitioning into the real world thing, but I don't even know
where to start. And I think, so I think the important thing is that a lot of people, they jump straight, okay, I have finished my PhD, I need a job, and then they just start applying. But then what they never really do, they never look inside and start reflecting. What do I want? Where do I want to go? What are my interests? What are my skills and also my values? And how do they align with certain positions? So this is one of the steps most of the PhDs jump over. So this is the first thing I encourage them to do, to really sit down and understand what do you want. Because, when you do a PhD, you have been in the academic system, you do a bachelor, you do a master, you do a PhD. And for most of the people, it's really like, they think I'm going to do a postdoc. So they never really question their choice. They're such in like a tunnel, and they're just going. But they never wonder and take a step back and say, but what do I want? Because the thing is, I always come with these examples. I did a lot of single cell sequencing. Like I started 6 years ago. It was still a rather new technology. So if I never reflected on who I am as a person, what I want, and what am I really good at, what are my strengths, I would probably work somewhere now doing single cell sequencing. But because I was like, I'm good at this, right? But I said, I'm good at it, but it doesn't mean that this is what I should be doing. But then I sat back and I said, I'm also good at presenting. I'm good at speaking. I love interacting with human beings. I love connecting people. So this is what I'm really good at. And this is when I started thinking, okay, then I should work in something that I'm really naturally good at and where I can excel. So it's better, in my opinion, to build on your strengths than on your weaknesses. But it requires a little bit of work to understand who you are. So I started my process more than two years ago before I defended. So that's why I always say, don't start when you're done with your PhD. Try to understand. And when you're doing a PhD, because you do all these different tasks from administrations. I paid bills, I ordered stuff, I planned experiments, I executed experiments, I analyzed experiments, I presented them. So you do a range of things. So when you pay attention to what are the tasks when I'm in my flow, it can give you so much info about you and where you might want to go in the future. So I just encourage people to observe and understand who they are. And then from this point, you can start aligning your skills and interests with industry positions. And that's the next big struggle, of course, because there's so many positions out there. So where do you start? But this is something that we can help with too, to really understand, okay, how would your skills and interests now fit with certain roles in industry, and which industry actually? And once you have identified this, you can start, thinking, okay, this is the role I want to apply. And then you write a resume, but the reflection that you did before will help you to have this red thread. When I think about the red thread in my CV, it's always, I love to create. When I was a small kid, I loved to make perfume. Then I did, education. I worked in a pharmacy. I loved to make creams. Then I went to do a PhD, and I loved to create things in my PhD, and now I'm creating other stuff. So creating is something I enjoy, and interaction with humans. And once you're there, you can kind of get this red thread in your resume, because you want to tell a story, and it just should be a teaser. So and then this is all. I mean, we help people really, like my business partner, Angela. So she has worked in industry for over 25 years. She has built high-performing teams from startup to enterprise. So she really understands how to build a CV that can get your foot in the door, but also how to prepare for an interview. So this is what we teach you guys, basically.
Episode 195 is the resume writing with...
Oh my God, can we invite Angela? I'm not the resume writing expert, but Angela is really good at it.
No,
actually.
But tell you what, because I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do.
This is what we're going to do, okay?
We're going to run an episode on resume reading.
Okay.
I've read my fair share of resumes. and I can tell you which ones stand out,
Yes.
which ones I read, which ones I put aside.
Okay. I would love to hear that, actually.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain way on how you can structure the resume, because the eye scans in a very specific way. So it's and if you know the little tips and tricks.
In another 30, 40 episodes, we'll be doing things for until 2030. Me and we have a whole series here.
A whole series. We do a whole guest series. I need to think about the Humor Man Lab, my favorite podcast.
Oh my God! I know. Anyway, but that sounds, again, it's. I totally hear you when you say that people kind of just sort of fall into something after either studies or a PhD. It's like boom, 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 boom. I mean, here at KTH, we have a problem because most people who study at KTH, they have jobs before they even graduate. So, which means that, and this is me speaking to all the companies out there, and this is honestly, you're not doing anybody any favors by plucking people out of university before they've graduated, because if they don't graduate, they'll regret that in 20 years and you'll make them miserable. And you won't, if you can just give them the extra year or 6 months that they need to graduate, everybody wins. Trust me, everybody wins. You're not doing any favors by poaching engineers before they graduate. And by the way, we don't get paid until they graduate, so we don't want them to drop out. But that's the getting them to reflect, I think, is important. What you were talking about, So you've studied all of this, you've learned lots of things, but it's not only the actual knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the skills and the experience, and I love what you said about, observe yourself as you're going through your everyday. And actually observe, right? Like journal, right? Write a journal.
Yes. That's the best way.
What did I enjoy doing today? What was I good at, but not necessarily wanted to do another time tomorrow?
Exactly.
Right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that is so good, so important. I mean, that goes for everyone and everything, right? Just figure out what you enjoy doing, and maybe not only do that in life, because you have to do like more things like that. But that's a really, really good way of finding a way in life as well, is to actually stop and reflect on, am I actually doing stuff that I enjoy doing? Am I actually doing the right things? Am I helping the world? Am I fixing something? Whatever you think is important, I think it's important. But that's all. So reflection is good. The resume, which is different as opposed to what you might have been writing before.
Absolutely,
completely different.
Completely different.
And then what else do we have?
What else do we have? We basically teach PhDs in a course. It's a video on demand course, but it's also interview preparation. How do you prepare for an interview and actually negotiate your salary and understand your value? Because this is a very important one, Donny. Most PhDs, they walk out and they have no idea what their worth on the market is, not as a person, because I wrote a post once about it and I said, what's my worth after PhD? And then people said the degree doesn't change your worth. And I was like, obviously not, but no, it's just so important that they understand, how can I even understand what I can ask for? Am I offered the right amount of compensation, and what are parts of the total compensation? It's not only your salary. You have a salary, but you can negotiate different things, but you need to understand.
Well, I think you're used to it. It's like it's black or white. It's yes or no. What I mean, it's like in Sweden, we're not used to haggling a price, right?
Yeah.
You don't go to ICA and you say, you know what? This milk says 14 kroners. I'll give you 12. You don't do that. You pay 14 kroners, right? You don't sort of negotiate price on milk. But it actually you could, because in ICA you can negotiate price on milk, because if it's old milk you can get it for cheaper. But so it actually is. But the whole thing is that you're not used to the negotiation. You're not used to that. You're actually if a boss says, I'll give you this salary, then you are actually allowed to say, well, you know what? I actually want this salary. Yeah. And it's a negotiation between the two of us.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we have to understand and learn as well.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
And I love, Angela, she normalizes it, because she says it's just a conversation. Yeah. You don't have to call it negotiation, call it whatever. It's a conversation about, this is what I think I should be getting. This is what you're offering me. Yeah. Can we meet in the middle? Yeah. Or, I feel this way, or I think. So So I think a lot of people are a bit afraid of the term negotiation. So you can just think of it as a normal conversation, just like any conversation.
That's one of the best tips we've had on this show. I would say, it's a conversation.
It's a
We're
conversation.
talking about where we can meet. Everything that's wrong with politics is that they're not talking about where they can meet. So anyway, let's not talk about politics. That's a whole episode by itself. Looking at the time here, we need to get to the main part of the ending. The thing is, the guests always leave us with their top 3 tips. And Elena has written top 3 tips today. Tip number 1 for PhDs as they are preparing to transition into the next life of their career would be tip number 1. Be proactive in your career planning. What do you mean by that?
I mean, if you think of, like driving the car or sitting in the passenger seat, be the one who drives the car. So don't wait. You have to go out and you have to find opportunities. Go out, find networking opportunities. Go out, look for jobs. Don't wait. It's no one's task to serve you. It's not the university's task to serve you. Because I can also tell you there are a lot of like offers made by the universities, and PhD students don't take them either because they don't look or they are not aware. So I encourage them to just do your homework too, to find to take charge of your career. It's not anyone else's task than yours.
If you don't make choices for yourself, the world will make the choices for you. So you decide.
Exactly.
Very good.
Love it.
Tip number 2, reflect on your interests, skills, and values.
We talked about it already. Like, I think that's one of the most important things. Don't just go out and apply for anything and be like, oh, I just need a job. I think it's more important to find something where you can actually feel, you spend so much time at work. Shouldn't you be doing something that actually fulfills you? So yeah, that's basically, it helps you to get there.
Wonderful. And tip number 3, start building your network early. Your network now.
Network, yes. Because I can tell you just also still now, network is what's going to propel you forward in a way you wouldn't even expect. Like for me, network building has been like, I wouldn't be sitting here with you if I never went out to build a network. I wouldn't have met Angela, my co-founder. I would not have the amazing support that I have right now with Alma Me, because I think we're actually doing quite well considering that we're such a young company. But I think it's because I've built a strong network and I've started 2 years ago. So if you're thinking about leaving academia, the best way to understand what are my options and to learn about options, but also to maybe potentially get a job after, is through networking, and especially in Stockholm. I want to mention this for everyone who is in Stockholm. There's so many opportunities. If you just think about the Collide event, where you have a lot of young startups here at KTH, you can go to a working lab. They have amazing events. KI Science Park has amazing events. There's so many events if you want. And even there is an event called Out of Office. I've heard about it yesterday. I will go there next time. Apparently it's so fun.
It's a crazy one.
Exactly. It's a crazy one. But, this is where you meet people. And if it's with a beer, this is where you make connections. And yesterday I was at the summer barbecue party from a working lab, and I talked to the CEO of Eva Biopharma. And this is how I meet people. Like, I got one of our potential clients because, I go to these events. So networking is still super important for me. So I think network is.
But that's. I mean, I think you're touching on some super key important things that also translate so very, very well into, we've been talking about life and life hacks, but the whole thing is that that just like in sales, it's people who actually buy from people.
Yes.
And in networking, it's people who speak to people, and it's not corporations that hire anonymous academics. It's actually people that hire people, and you network, and the thing is, I think that you've done so very well as well, is that no matter who you meet, it's maybe doesn't matter if they specifically can't help you, but they will know somebody, or they have a brother or a sister or a cousin, or somebody knows somebody in their network, and it's a ripple effect. So if you're out networking, you put yourself out there, you have some kind of idea of who you are and where you want to go, that is worth so much, and it will help you get to a place where you're going. So get in the driving seat, run your own career, and point the arrow towards what you feel like doing in the world. But wonderful.
Perfect summary.
Fantastic.
Donnie.
And that's
fantastic.
3 o'clock on the nose. Everyone, that's
Yeah.
Innovation Fika, Innovation Coffee Break, the world's fastest, at least in this room, the world's fastest half an hour. Whoosh! Again with, sorry, Dr. Hoffer. Next time I'll call it Professor Hoffer or something. I don't know.
No.
I don't know what's going to happen next time. So nice having you here again. We'll be back we're going to do a science episode. We're going to do a resume reading episode. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We should have some some recruiters, and we'll do like resume reading.
That would be so
awesome.
fun. Yeah, we can do a lot of fun things.
With that, I will say thank you and goodbye. It's 3 p.m. and I think we also have a greeting finally from India here. Yash, thank you for being a good friend, always being online with us. Yash, thank you. See you all next week. Last episode next week before the, I think, yes, next week is the last episode, 156 before the summer. Join us then, 2:30 p.m. as usual. But today, for now, thank you, Elena. Thank you all, and have a great midsummer as well coming up this weekend. Bye for now.